They keep tracing my, they keep tracing me and following me everywhere I go. So they everywhere. Hacking into my phones.
The both of us.
When Michael met you, he was very interested in you, wasn't he?
No, I don't think he was interested like everybody
You don't?
portrays him to be. No.
And when Michael Jackson was alive, you are backing him. You are up his ass. You are kissing his ass.
You ever hear something so insane, it sounds like a movie? Until the receipts start rolling in? Let's run it back to Aaron Carter's death. But forget what you think you know. This ain't about some tragic overdose. Nope. Now we've got whispers turning into full-blown courtroom chaos, lawsuits naming names, and one chilling bombshell. Michael Jackson may have left Aaron a warning note. A note that might have cost both of them their lives. Aaron didn't pass like someone just losing control. Nah, it's giving targeted. And that ain't just a fan theory. That's from his own brother, Nick Carter, who straight up said something always felt off about how Aaron died. And then boom! When the Michael Jackson connection popped up in legal documents, it stopped looking like a sad family tragedy and started reeking of a major cover-up. So let's ask the real questions. Why was Aaron Carter so scared in his last days? Why was he reaching out to Kanye West of all people? Why did he redo his entire house right before he died? And yo, why is Diddy's name suddenly popping up in the middle of this mess? Now this is where it gets sinister. Diddy's former head of security, the same dude accused in a federal lawsuit of being the cleanup guy, used to be Michael Jackson's bodyguard during MJ's last 10 months alive. What are the odds? This ain't just about two fallen pop stars. We're talking about a whole playbook, a secret system that's been running for decades. Handlers, cover-ups, freak-off parties, missing footage, and shady behind-the-scenes deals. And for years, if you mentioned any of this, they'd call you crazy, delusional, paranoid. But now, it's all starting to add up. Aaron wasn't just having issues, he was dropping warnings. Loud ones, over and over again. When they found Aaron's body in his Lancaster, California crib back in November 2022, the story the media pushed was just too easy. Accidental drowning from drug use.
No f***ing, you don't know nothing, man. Otherwise, pay a little bit more attention. But Def Light, you fucking wrong for this, just for saying that shit. That's why Nick had to put allegedly in there, or I would have sued the fucking shit piss out of him. So don't even come at me with that shit, man. I come with facts, receipts, and evidence.
They slapped the troubled child star label on him and kept it moving. But real ones who were watching knew Aaron had been saying some real disturbing stuff before he passed. He wasn't just rambling on live, he was saying he felt followed. He said he was being watched. And more than once, he said people were out to get him. These weren't vague fears. He was naming things, pointing out patterns, and basically begging for somebody to listen. Aaron Carter wasn't just out here venting. He said he had proof. He claimed he was holding onto a file he called the Hollywood PDFA file. And according to him, it was stacked with explosive dirt on some of the most powerful figures in the industry. We're talking allegations of trafficking, manipulation tactics, and straight-up mind control used to keep artists silent and obedient. This wasn't just shade at Hollywood, it was a straight-up warning shot. Aaron wasn't just throwing names for clout. He reportedly tried to link up with Kanye West, who around that same time was also going off about celebrity handlers, psych ward setups, and forced breakdowns that suddenly weren't looking so random anymore. It wasn't coincidence, it was a connection, one that turned deadly. Just one day before he was found dead, Aaron actually sent Ye a DM. He tweeted publicly, "Yo Kanye, let's talk man to man." Then, just like that, he was gone. No follow-up, no explanation. And Kanye? He said he knew exactly what happened. That DM was more than a message. It was a desperate cry for help from someone who knew the walls were closing in. Aaron told people he feared for his life. He even told his therapist that he believed he was being poisoned. And that's not some online rumor. He reportedly missed a therapy session the night before he died. Not just any session either. He was planning to finally spill everything he knew about that Hollywood PDFA file. That was supposed to be the moment he let it all out, but he never made it. And here's where it gets even more disturbing. Just days before he passed, Aaron remodeled his entire house.
They keep tracing my, they keep tracing me and following me everywhere I go. So they everywhere. Hacking into my phones. Getting my locations. And, so.
What's your Instagram name? Aaron Carter, AARONCARTER. I'm on live right now. So if you go on live right now and you guys watch it, you can see what's going on. So
it's at Aaron Carter, no underscore, no nothing.
nothing. AARONCARTER. Yeah, they said they're saying I have a threat paid for hire. My fans, because they're all watching.
We're talking stripped it down, changed the locks, rewired the security cams like he was prepping for a siege, and then when he was found dead, his fiancée, Melanie Martin, pulled up with a moving truck. Same day, not hours later. Who does that? Who brings a moving truck before the body's even cold or the coroner finishes the report? That move had fans and even Aaron's own family doing double takes. But that ain't all. There were 2 neighbors, both trained in medicine, who tried to help but were blocked from entering the scene. Blocked from helping. And that's the part nobody can explain. When neighbors heard the chaos that morning, they tried to step in, but security shut them down. 2 trained professionals blocked from helping. And when the official cause of death dropped, just like that, the headlines read, "Drowning due to effects of alprazolam and difluoroethane." Translation? Xanax and canned air. That's it. Case closed. No mention of the trauma Aaron had been speaking on. No mention of the paranoia. Not one question about the file he swore he was working on. Silence. But things got real shady when Diddy's name started floating into the mix. Not long after Aaron's passing, photos started surfacing online, but not the usual press flicks or studio selfies. These were off-the-grid snapshots, VIP-only parties, private backroom gatherings. And guess who's right there next to Aaron in some of these pics? Diddy. Not in passing, not at a public event, behind closed doors. That's when people started asking the uncomfortable questions. What was Aaron doing at Diddy's infamous parties? Especially now that court filings like Cassie's lawsuit have exposed a dark pattern. She described those parties as straight-up freak-offs, drug-filled, heavily manipulated setups where people were coerced, filmed, and blackmailed. She said it felt like controlled captivity. That ain't no party, that's entrapment. So now folks are looking back at Aaron's presence in that world with fresh eyes. Was he groomed into it? Was he just a witness? Or was he digging too deep and got too close to the truth? And that Hollywood PDF-A file he kept warning about? Did it hold proof of what was really going on behind those velvet ropes? Meanwhile, Aaron's own brother, Nick Carter, started showing up in interviews, like in Fallen Idols. But instead of just grieving, Nick started hinting. He said Aaron wasn't spiraling, he was scared. He wasn't just using, he was running from something. And even more suspicious, Nick said the people around Aaron, including their own mom, Jane Carter, were hiding things. Fans believe she played a huge role in turning the brothers against each other. None of this feels like coincidence anymore. It's not chaos, it's a pattern. Aaron wasn't unraveling, he was signaling. He was begging people to pay attention. And now, thanks to new courtroom leaks, we're hearing about something truly chilling. A handwritten note from Michael Jackson to Aaron. Yup, MJ and Aaron Carter were close once. And that note is back under the spotlight.
And for
The full
the record,
contents haven't
today
been
is the
released
day that
publicly
Adidas announced
yet,
that they were
but
dropping them,
sources
just in
say
case
it was
you've
a
been paying
warning.
close
A
attention.
personal
to this.
message from Michael to Aaron telling him to be
Just for the
careful.
people, because they're going to see
The
this.
same people who
you know
came
what,
for
you
him
know
would
what,
come for
in my
others.
opinion,
Michael apparently wrote,
like I said, I was
the
on the
price of
fence about
speaking
If they
out is
did,
everything. And if that note is real,
attempt
this
to
wasn't
kill
just
me
about
or
Aaron's
kill me
downfall.
like they killed Michael
It was about
Jackson
who he
or
feared
JFK,
and who may have wanted him gone. We all remember how Michael Jackson spent his
what's the
final
guy's name?
years
Aaron Carter, the guy who wanted
whispering
to talk to me
over and over again, "They're going to kill me."
about the Harley
His daughter
passing that
Paris
situation.
said it.
If they
His
did
sister
do that, they would
Latoya
say,
said
"Oh,
it.
it's Ye's
His
mental
son
health."
Prince confirmed it too. MJ told his inner circle constantly he was being hunted. He wrote dozens of notes about it, now out in the open. Phrases like, "They are trying to murder me," and "The system wants to kill me for my catalog." Then came June 2009, and bam, Michael Jackson was gone. At first, it looked like a medical mishap, an overdose of propofol, supposedly given by his personal physician, Dr. Conrad Murray. But when you start picking at the official story, it falls apart fast. Here's what they claimed. MJ had been restless, so Murray gave him a cocktail of meds to help him sleep. When that didn't work, he hit him with one final dose of propofol. Then Murray left the room. When he came back, MJ was already unresponsive. And the shadiest part? That 911 call wasn't made until 90 minutes later. CPR was delayed. Witness stories kept changing. And even though Murray ended up doing time for involuntary manslaughter, fans and family never bought the clean-cut version because just like Aaron Carter, MJ wasn't spiraling either. He was getting ready to go to war with the industry. He had a massive comeback tour lined up.
I want to ask you one thing real quickly. What's your greatest fear?
My greatest fear? Not being able to live as long as I can. That's my greatest.
He was gearing up to go independent. And most importantly, he was about to reclaim full ownership of his music catalog, including the freaking Beatles catalog. That catalog alone was worth billions. Sony wanted it. Everyone around him knew what was at stake. So let's ask the real question. Who really profited from MJ's death? And now guess what name keeps showing up in all this mess? Fahim Muhammad. Yeah, that Fahim. The guy currently being named in lawsuits as Diddy's alleged cleanup man, accused of covering up freak-offs and paying off cops. But long before he was linked to Diddy, Fahim Muhammad was Michael Jackson's head of security for exactly the last 10 months of MJ's life. Now here's the kicker. Fahim was only 20 years old. No law enforcement background, no military training, no security experience. Just a college grad with a degree in real estate. Let that sink in. The most famous man on earth had his life in the hands of a kid with zero credentials. That's not a coincidence. That's suspicious as hell. Before Fahim, MJ's security was run by Bill Bray, a seasoned LAPD officer who'd protected MJ for decades. Bill was more than just muscle. He was family, a father figure.
I didn't have a choice. It got bad when I was about 15 years old because when I did MTV Cribs, the day that I had to go show off that house, my mom and my dad told me, we're getting a divorce. You still have to go do this. I had to go show off all the stuff my whole life that was going to be taken.
Someone MJ trusted with his life. But the moment Bill stepped down, boom, here comes Fahim. No experience, no rep, just inserted into MJ's inner circle. Why? Who put him there? Journalist Ian Carroll started digging and found some jaw-dropping stuff. Fahim, despite having no career in security, somehow ended up as a guest speaker at Wharton's Real Estate Entrepreneurship Summit. Makes zero sense, right? But then Ian went deeper and uncovered connections between these Wharton events and people tied to intelligence networks. Think CIA, FBI, private defense contractors. Sound familiar? It should, because this links right back to Kanye West and his trainer, Harley Pasternak. Remember him? The same guy Kanye said tried to get him institutionalized and pump him with meds until he behaved. Kanye even exposed texts where Harley threatened to put him in a psych ward and medicate him into silence. Same playbook, different target, and it's always the artists who start asking too many questions that end up spiraling until they disappear or get discredited. Turns out Harley Pasternak, the so-called celebrity trainer who tried to silence Kanye, had military ties. Canadian military, to be exact. And not just any branch. He reportedly worked in psychological operations. Yeah, you heard that right. So now the theory is this. Fahim Muhammad wasn't just some clumsy hire. He was a plant, sent in to monitor, control, and if necessary, neutralize Michael Jackson the moment he stepped out of line. And here's where it gets real shady. During Dr. Conrad Murray's trial, Fahim actually took the stand.
Something that we're still processing. I don't think we'll ever really get over it. It's been a lot for us, but we're finding ways to take a really tragic situation in our family and, do something with it. There is a legal process happening right now, and I can't get into too many of the details. But what I can say is that I'm really happy with the way things are going. And once it's all done, I look forward to finally talking about it.
He testified that he had complete access to MJ's home, full control over who entered and who left. He was responsible for MJ's kids. He knew the entire layout of the house, every routine, every schedule. Basically, the man had eyes and ears everywhere. But when lawyers questioned him, his answers came off cold, robotic, rehearsed. MJ's family didn't believe him, his fans didn't either. And now, looking back with everything going down around Diddy, it all looks way too familiar. Let's not forget, Michael's biggest battle wasn't with the media or the public. It was with Sony Music, and MJ said it out loud. He called Sony the devil. He called out then CEO Tommy Mottola by name and accused him of sabotage, greed, and straight-up threats. MJ said if he didn't stay in line, his life would be in danger. And years later, fans made a chilling discovery. Tommy Mottola sold his luxury Miami estate to Diddy. That was the moment it all started clicking. The ties, the overlap, the timing. MJ's death started to feel less like a random tragedy and more like a calculated chain reaction. And guess who was right there at MJ's side when the paramedics finally showed up? Fahim. Now flash forward. He's being named in federal lawsuits tied to the same abuse patterns MJ tried to warn us about, the ones Diddy is now facing head on. And here's where it gets downright cold. After MJ died, no one publicly investigated Fahim. He didn't even make headlines. He quietly disappeared from MJ's world and popped back up in Diddy's, still suited up, still playing security. But this time, he wasn't protecting stars. He was being protected. And he's not the only one. Because in February 2024, everything exploded. Diddy's former producer, Rodney Lil Rod Jones, filed a lawsuit that didn't just accuse Diddy of abuse, trafficking, and control. It cracked open the door on a whole underground operation. His legal filing linked Michael Jackson, Aaron Carter.
Being the artist that I am, at Sony, I've generated several $1 billion for Sony. Several billion. And, they really thought that my mind is always on music and dancing and it usually is, but they never thought that this performer, myself, would leaving Sony a free agent,
and a network of industry handlers all operating off the same dark blueprint. This wasn't some gossip site scoop. It was legal testimony with names, dates, roles, and one name that kept showing up over and over again, Fahim Muhammad. According to Lil Rod, Fahim wasn't just Diddy's bodyguard. He was his fixer, the cleaner, the guy you call when something goes wrong. If a tape exists, Fahim makes sure it gets wiped. If somebody starts talking, Fahim brings the heat. If the cops knock, Fahim's name is the key that makes the case disappear. That's when the real panic starts to set in. Because if this man had that much power under Diddy, and he also happened to be Michael Jackson's last line of defense, then this ain't just about two celebrity deaths anymore. This is about a system, one that's been operating in plain sight, silencing anyone who steps out of bounds. What we're looking at isn't just some string of tragic celebrity stories, it's a system built to control, exploit, and when necessary, erase anyone who steps out of line. But let's bring it back to Aaron Carter. Because Aaron didn't just know about Michael Jackson's warnings, he talked about them a lot, on live streams, in interviews, and even in his posthumous memoir, An Incomplete Story of an Incomplete Life. In it, Aaron revealed a bizarre, uncomfortable memory. How MJ once stood at the foot of his bed in his underwear while Aaron slept on a cot in Michael's room. He admitted it weirded him out, but here's the twist. He never accused MJ of abuse. In fact, he defended him hard. He said he believed Wade Robson and the others accusing MJ were chasing clout. Even when the tabloids tried to flip his words into something scandalous, Aaron clapped back. He wasn't having it. Aaron went off on Twitter, furious that people were twisting what he said. In one post, he wrote, "I'm sorry, but where in the definition of inappropriate does it mention sexual misconduct?" Then he doubled down, saying, "My story validates, in my opinion, that Michael didn't do anything sexual to others."
Owning half of Sony. So I own half of Sony's publishing and I'm leaving them and they're very angry at me because of it. But I just did good business, you know.
Tell him! Say it, Michael! Tell the story!
But, so, the way they get revenge is to try and destroy my album. But, I've always said, you know, good art never.
My story had to be told in order to protect a man and friend I actually knew. That wasn't just a defense. That was a mission. He knew MJ's name was being used as a smokescreen, and he wanted the truth out. At this point, coincidences don't even exist anymore. This is a blueprint. Michael tried to expose it, Aaron tried to leak it, Kanye screamed about it, and now, Lawsuits are finally putting the puzzle pieces together, in ink. But let's be real, if you think the elite were gonna let that kind of evidence stroll into the courtroom unbothered, then you don't know how Hollywood really works. That handwritten note from Michael to Aaron? Yeah, it wasn't supposed to exist. It was never meant to see daylight. But now, that one piece of paper might be the thread that ties both of their deaths together. And both happened while the same man was on watch. While the world was tearing MJ apart in the media, calling him every name imaginable, one A-list celebrity dared to stand by him, Jim Carrey. And now, an old buried interview has come crawling back to the surface, and it hits hard. In a rare 2003 interview that barely got coverage, Jim didn't just defend MJ's innocence, he exposed something way darker. Jim flat out said the district attorney and the media were working together to destroy Michael. Not because he was guilty, but because he knew too much. Jim Carrey didn't mince words. He said the media were vampires feeding off lies and scandal. He made it clear he never bought the accusations. He said,
"A good time to come out." No, what you're doing is you're actually stomping on an icon and a legend's grave. You're stomping on his grave. I just feel like why not do it when he was alive, man? Why not do it when he was being accused of all of these molestation charges? Why not do it then? Because and actually indict a perpetrator.
I don't believe all the negative things surrounding Michael Jackson. I respect Jim Carrey's accomplishments, and I hope he's strong enough to make it through all this noise. But what most folks don't know? Jim's support for MJ ran deeper than interviews. Insiders say he reached out personally, warning Michael that certain powerful figures at Sony and high-ranking execs in the music world were setting him up for destruction. And the scariest part? MJ believed him. Because let's not forget, Michael had been saying for years that people were out to kill him over his music catalog. He knew his ownership of that legendary publishing was worth billions, and he wasn't about to just hand it over. Jim? He seemed to understand exactly how deep the rabbit hole went. And now, look where we are. The lawsuits are live, the names are coming out, and Diddy's whole empire is crumbling in real time. But somehow, the deaths of Michael Jackson and Aaron Carter still being treated like separate, sad little accidents, when in reality, they may have been the first cracks in the system. So next time someone tells you a celeb spiraled or burned out or disappeared for their mental health, just remember, that's not always the truth. Sometimes they saw too much, knew too much, tried to warn us. And that kind of truth, it's dangerous in Hollywood, but guess what? The receipts are finally coming out. The patterns are exposing themselves, and the gatekeepers, they're being named publicly. This time, no amount of PR cleanup or hush-hush settlements may be enough to keep this buried. If you made it this far, drop your thoughts in the comments below. Was Aaron Carter silenced? Did MJ leave behind a final warning that the world's just now waking up to? And how far do you think Diddy's influence really stretches? Smash that like button if you want more truth, more exposure, and more uncensored breakdowns of these industry cover-ups. Share this with someone who still believes it's all just coincidence. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next, because we're just getting started. And don't click away yet, our next video takes this even deeper. Trust us, this story is far from over.